Hello everyone, here we are at the Nürburgring and we're excited because it is race 2 about to start in just a bit. But the weather really is a challenge today because here in the Eifel, as we know, you never know what the weather does. It's very unpredictable. At the moment it is starting to dribble. So the main question, of course, also which Ricardo Feller is thinking about, you're starting in pole position and obviously it's a huge gamble with the tires, slicks or wet. So what do you think is at the moment the decision?
I cannot tell you. If we look here, for sure we should drive slicks, but now, like you just said, it starts to rain, and if I look to the sky, it will not be better soon. So, yeah, I don't know what we do. We have 10 minutes more to decide.
So I guess it adds to the tension, but starting in pole position, obviously the best position, and if you manage to win today, you would be the first driver in this season to actually win two races. So I guess that's in the back of the head, but now it's just managing to get started.
Yeah, full focus, like you just said. I mean, it would be nice, obviously, to be the second winner this year. But I want to get the maximum of the package today, and for this we need to make the right decision. And I'm trusting my team 100%. I think they will do the right decision in the end.
All right, Ricardo, best of luck. Thank you so much. And now here are your commentators.
Thanks very much indeed, Verena. Verena down there on a windy, wet grid, and there you can see from the high shot on our crane camera, over in the distance beyond turn 1 with this wind blowing, dark clouds, dark skies are arriving. It's been a showery day. We had a big downpour earlier on after qualifying. Qualifying this morning was brilliant in that it kept changing and changing and changing all the way through the session on a track which started damp and dried up. But we've had some serious rain in between as well. It's drier at the moment though, and Ricardo Feller and Sheldon van der Linde will be on the front row for this one. His best ever qualifying, David Schumacher, qualified 4th, promoted up to 3rd alongside Lucas Auer. Marco Wittmann is 5th. Jack Aitken qualified 3rd, but has got a 3-place grid penalty for speeding under the red flags in qualifying. Maro Engel and Dennis Olsen are on the 4th row of the grid. Tim Heinemann and Kelvin van der Linde, 9th and 10th, complete the 5th row of the grid. Lauren Heinrich and René Rast, 11th and 12th. René with work to do. Max Paul, who was in the points yesterday, and Arjun Maini are next up. They share the 7th row of the grid. Josefa Vega and the championship leader, Thomas Preining, 15th and 16th. Thomas with his worst qualifying of the season so far. Luca Engsler and Lukas Stolz are 17th and 18th. Sandro Holzem going well this morning, 19th. Matthias Drudy back in 20th. Clemens Schmidt, 21st. Patrick Niederhauser, who was in the points yesterday, 22nd, with work to do. Likewise, Thierry Vermeulen, and then from Pereira had a bad day yesterday and a bad qualifying today, 24th for him. Alessio De Leda, 25th. And Mirko Bortolotti went off the road at the start of qualifying. He had to be towed back and he caused the red flag, and therefore it wasn't allowed to go back into the qualifying session because he was receiving outside assistance. So, having been on pole, he's been granted special permission to race, having missed qualifying pole yesterday, right at the back of the grid today for Mirko Bortolotti, yesterday's race winner. Let's go back to the grid.
And I'm here with Sheldon van der Linde, and I guess there's no other racetrack where you talk that much about the weather, like here at the Nürburgring, telling us you're wearing a jacket and a suit, you're still freezing. But the main question is obviously about the tires. It's a huge gamble here at the Nürburgring, especially looking into the sky now.
Yeah, it's starting to rain now as well, and I've got slicks on the car, so if it continues like this, it's probably better to go on what Auer has on the car with rain tires. It's so difficult to predict though, because if it's raining this lightly, it's not enough to make the track completely wet. But it's also just enough to maybe send you off the track and have the risk there of losing a lot of points, obviously, in my case. So it's difficult. You're in 3rd in the championship. You don't want to take too much risk, but at the same time, you need to be winning races because Preining is going to get away at the front if we don't. So just about managing that risk, but we'll be fine.
All right, well, best of luck, Sheldon. Hope you make the right decision, have a good race. And now we're going to go to the man who's starting in P3, and that's David Schumacher. And so far, that's his best result in the qualifying. And let's see what he makes out of it for this race, obviously. But he's still in a conversation, so why don't we just grab Winkelhock there for a second, Markus Winkelhock, because, sorry, I need to grab you, because I actually had the chance to drive with this man in a taxi ride here at the Nürburgring, and it was so much fun, and especially because it was a special system, the Scheffler system. You can tell us all about it because it's really unique.
Yeah, it's the innovation race taxi, we call it. There's a space drive system, a steer-by-wire system in that race car, which makes it actually special. And I think you could feel it next to me that it's like working like a normal steering with a normal steering column, and yeah, we worked on it the last couple of years, and it's really working very well. And I'm a kind of development driver of this system, and it's also for me as a race driver really good fun to see the steps we do forward with the system, and yeah, I'm proud to be part of that.
I bet, and I mean, I was sitting in the car and I was trusting you, that's for sure. That's what you need to do when you have no control. But I thought it was amazing because you have no steering column, and yet it feels almost the same like if you're in a normal race car.
Exactly, and that was the target. That actually you jump in the car and you cannot tell if it's a normal steering or a space drive. And now we are at the point that it's like working like a normal steering, and this was the target. And as you could feel next to me, it's working really well, and it's also safe. You know, there's so many people like sitting next to me, and they ask me if it's safe or is it not safe, and I fully trust in it. The system did I think 1 billion kilometers on normal road cars already, so it's 100% safe.
Very amazing, and thank you for having taken me home safely as well. Thank you, Markus. And now we're going to try to grab David Schumacher before he jumps into the car, because obviously so far P3 is his best result in the qualifying. So David, let's see what you can make out of it, starting in P3 in this tricky race.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I hope it's going to rain more now because we have the wet tires on. So we don't destroy the tires in the first few laps, but it looks promising now. So let's see to survive it and bring home a good position.
All right, well, best of luck for the race. And now it's really starting to pour with rain. So it's going to be a very interesting start here. Let's cross our fingers that it's a good start. And I'm sure it's going to be a very exciting race. So now let's get racing. And here are your commentators.
Thanks very much indeed, Verena. See from those pictures that Verena didn't look like she was entirely 100% enjoying that passage right around the lap. Must have been fairly hefty. And with Markus Winkelhock there as well, who's a man who led a Grand Prix here at the Nürburgring, the European Grand Prix, in a Spiker F1 car in mixed conditions, a bit like this actually, back in 2007. So we know a couple of drivers from what we've heard are on wets, Lucas Auer, David Schumacher. Just to bring you up to date as well, Emil Frey Racing and Jack Aitken are under investigation. That notification has just come through, and it's for having some technical help while the car was on the grid. So that's being looked at the moment. Jack's already got a 3-place grid penalty from qualifying this morning. Chris Hartley then here in the comms box to talk you through what's going to be a really interesting race. Wet, dry, treaded tyres, slick tyres, who knows? But more and more of them seem to be switching to the wet tyres because that rain has started to build up. It is going to be an adventure into the unknown for this second race of the weekend. And to help me talk you through all the action, it's a very good afternoon to Brian Oliver.
Good afternoon, Chris. Well, after yesterday, can we cope with any more excitement? It's going to be a race all about strategy. Is it going to rain? Is it going to stay raining? Will there be a dry line? That man there, Mirko Bortolotti, after such glory yesterday, now in the garage. You can see the team working on the car. We did speculate it might be a pit lane start that they've chosen to do, but that doesn't look like it to me. They've got the laptops plugged in. They're investigating the engine, so I'm wondering if he's got an issue. Whichever way, he's going to have to come from the very back. So getting on the podium is going to be something of a tall order for the number 92 car.
Yeah, they talked about a clutch issue. So he went deep into the first corner, sorry, the second corner earlier on, stopped before anybody had set a lap time in qualifying. They couldn't get the car going again, which is why he then had to be towed back, which is why he wasn't allowed to rejoin qualifying after the red flags. So yeah, clearly a deeper issue with the Lamborghini, and he hadn't even got his race helmet on yet. So he's just about the only one staying dry, but hopefully from SSR Performance's point of view and Mirko's point of view, they can at least get into the race. He's already got work to do, but they are clambered over that Lamborghini, trying to get the problem resolved. Just to go back to that Jack Aitken story, that's not going to be looked at until after the race. So it's under investigation, but we won't know the outcome of that until after the race. Ponchos at the ready then, umbrellas at the ready for the crowd here. It's very windy and blustery as well. I had a look at the satellite and the radar before we came on air, and certainly there is rain all around us. It's swirling around in these conditions, and it could rain more, it could stop raining, it could do anything in between. So just got to make sure you react to it as quickly as possible. It's all about to unfold with the latest adventure in the DTM 2023. So we are back here at the Nürburgring, second race of the weekend and the 8th race of the season. Chris Hartley and Brian Oliver to talk you through the action. We're about to get into the halfway stage of the 2023 season. We've had 7 races and 7 different winners so far this season. 8 different qualifying sessions and 7 different pole sitters. Ricardo Feller becoming the first driver this year to get a double pole position. He starts on pole, he got 3 points for that. Thomas Preining, the championship leader, is down in the middle of the grid as we've seen, so he stays on 106 points. Sheldon van der Linde up to second after scoring 2 points in qualifying on 89, 1 ahead of Mirko Bortolotti. This is the circuit then, 3.629 kilometres long. In the dry, around about 1 minute and 25 seconds to get around. We've had lots of adventures in the past. Last year, Mirko Bortolotti caught up in a couple of incidents. One on Sunday against Kelvin van der Linde towards the end of the race, which dropped the Italian down to the back of the field. This one dropped the Italian and the Brazilian Felipe Fraga out of contention for a race win. There you can see popping past them was Sheldon van der Linde, the driver that's now second in the championship and on the front row of the grid. He took the win on the Saturday, and Kelvin van der Linde came through to finish second. The brothers making history at the time. So 11 turns, some of them are going to be wetter than others. They're all going to be at least greasy now, but the weather and the rain all around us, it's not actually raining that much at the moment. So do you go slicks or wets? They've done everything on Sheldon van der Linde's car. So now the rain has stopped. I think it went from slicks to wets. I think they're thinking about slicks again now. So René Rast has got slicks on, I think, by the looks of it. So René Rast going for slicks. And we saw yesterday, Brian, that these are shots from earlier, how wet it can get, as we look at the grid again, with Ricardo Feller and Sheldon van der Linde on the front row. David Schumacher, best ever qualifying prior to today, 10th at the Lausitzring last year. Lucas Auer on the podium for the first time yesterday. He joins him on that row. Then it's Marco Wittmann, Jack Aitken with a 3-place grid penalty, Maro Engel knows this place like the back of his hand, and Dennis Olsen, who is stringing together a really nice run of points at the moment. Tim Heinemann, 2 seconds at Oschersleben. Kelvin van der Linde out of luck at turn 1 yesterday, but a great recovery drive. Lauren Heinrich and the 3-time champion René Rast are on row 6. Max Paul as the second weekend in the DTM driver after 2021, and Arjun Mania next. Then it's Jesper Vega 15th. Thomas Preining, worst qualifying of the year for the championship leader in 16th. Luca Engstler, a retirement yesterday. Luca Stoltz, a winner here last year, on the next row. And then Sandro Holzum, his DTM debut weekend, he's alongside Matthias Drudy. They're the top 20. Clement Schmidt and Patrick Niederhauser, 21st and 22nd. On row 12, we've got Thierry Vermeulen. And Franck Pereira's had a nightmare weekend so far. Alessio Deleda, and right at the back of the field, but he won't be on the grid, Mirko Bortolotti, the winner yesterday. At least he's got his helmet on now. They've been working on the car. He went off in qualifying this morning. They couldn't restart. He had to be towed back, so he wasn't allowed to get back into the session. Clearly, they've still got an issue with that Lamborghini. They've been working on it in the garage. So at best, he's going to start from the pit lane. Although, Brian, it might not be a bad place to start, because it could be a little bit chaotic into that first downhill run into the first corner on a greasy, damp circuit. You might just be better off starting from the pit lane if you're at the back of the grid anyway, and let them get on with the carnage and then try and pop through. Yes, it might be a case of sit back and enjoy the spectacle. Let them sort it all out in front of them and then come sailing through. Looking at the 3 SSR Performance Lamborghini Huracans, all 3 of them on the back 3 places of the grid. So clearly issues just getting dialed in this wet weather in general for the Lamborghini Huracan. Yesterday seems like a dim and distant memory. That man there, Ricardo Feller, could easily become the first 2-time winner this year. He has been consistent all season long, and he has been there or thereabouts in the points in every single race this season. Django Saul there holding the driver start your engines board aloft as our guest for today. The comedian then about to get things underway, and come on, get out of the way, says Mirko Bortolotti. I'd like to get in the car if you don't mind. I've got a race to be getting on with. But that's a good positive sign. He's getting in the car, so it looks like the SSR Performance Squad who had this elation yesterday with that race victory for Mirko. He's first in the DTM. I've done a good job to get, hopefully, fingers crossed for them, the car up and running. So that's job 1 ticked off. Job 2, try somehow to get some points, drag some points out of this race. Mirko is one of only 4 drivers left on the grid that has scored points in all of the races so far this season. Thomas Preining has been in the points in every race so far this year. Ricardo Feller has been in the points in every single race this year as well, and so too has Maro Engel. Otherwise, everybody's had at least one non-point scoring result. So Thomas Priding, 106 points. He's had a win, he's had 4 podiums, but he's got work to do just to get some points in this race in the number 91 Manthey EMA Porsche. Sheldon van der Linde picked up 2 points for qualifying second, which moved him back into second place in the championship ahead of Mirko Bortolotti this morning. So he's got 89, 17 points adrift. Mirko 88, 18 adrift of the leader. Ricardo Feller on pole position. He's fourth in the championship on 78 points now after qualifying on pole. Maro Engel has got 65 points. Dennis Olsen has got 63. He's sixth in the championship. They're going to get 2 formation laps. Oh dear. Mirko Bortolotti getting back out of the car. Just when you think it's all going according to plan, he gets his win. He actually posted on social media yesterday a picture of him winning and celebrating the race with the word redemption, because he had that nightmare weekend here last year, as we saw in the build-up to the show. But the Nürburgring not being kind to him today by the looks of things. Not sure he's going to get in the race now.
As the cars went round at turn 1 in single file, Jack Aitken took a completely different line to everybody else, and I can't help thinking that he's already plotting what he might be wanting to do in that first corner. He said he's going to be pushing hard forwards, and he went really wide into turn 1. It wasn't a slide, I think it was exploration, seeing how much grip is out there.
Might as well. You look at that, it looks dry, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I will remember, we spoke to Jack after free practice 1 on Friday, and we had some spits of rain before the start of the session. They went away, but he said actually it stayed pretty slippery and greasy thereafter. It's a sort of track where it's hard to generate heat in the tyres. There's not big, fast sweeping bends to do so, but it does dry out quite quickly, as we saw yesterday as well. And I'm sure Jack is going to have in the back of his mind, and Emil Frey Racing as well, that you don't want to react to the weather too quickly here. He ended up having 3 pit stops yesterday, coming in, changing from used slicks to new slicks. Then the rain came down, so he went on wets, but having gone on wets, it actually dried out pretty quickly. Right, Marco Wittmann peels into the pit lane at the end of the first formation lap, presumably to change tyres. He's been out, I'm guessing, but we'll find out. He was on wets, and he said, no, actually, it's pretty dry. Let's go for the slick tyres, but he's going to have to start from the pit lane.
After such a strong qualifying session, starting in 5th place, to give that up, you realise how much he thinks can be won and lost being on the wrong tyre. So clearly, the only driver that was on wet tyres. So the slicks go on, and he is going to drop to the very back. That's going to give him a very long afternoon. Let's hope that it doesn't start raining for his sake.
Yeah, we're not party to information in terms of any info on the timing screens as to who is on what tyre, only what we've seen so far. We just didn't see everybody changing tyres on the grid. It did look like a lot of them at the last minute went back onto the slicks if they weren't already on them. But then we'll soon find out. We'll see immediately from the pace of the cars and the lap times if anybody has stayed on that wet tyre. But unless it rains again, it looks like the wrong call. Yesterday in similar conditions, yes, it was tricky, yes, it was slippery, but it proved to be something that the drivers could get through and avoid themselves an additional pit stop. And a pit stop here, in and out, costs you around about 36, 37 seconds. So you've got to weigh up, am I going to ever get that much time back if I have to come in and make an extra pit stop?
Well, I should think Schubert hoping they haven't done the same thing that Emil Frey did yesterday and jumped too quickly. I saw drops of rain arriving on the camera lens. It was a very, very quick decision, an early decision to bring him in for that change. And if the rain does start to come now, they are going to be clutching their foreheads. You can see the rain on the windscreen of Sheldon van der Linde's BMW.
Yeah, this on board then with the reigning champion, Sheldon van der Linde. And there, the dark skies in the background. You just don't know what the weather is going to do. All you can really react to is what is the track like now. You can't predict the future, especially if you're at the front, especially if you're in the championship fight. Yes, if you're towards the back, you've got nothing to lose. Maybe you try something different, but it's going to be a risk. Right then, so looking at that, you'd say dries at the moment, but if they only have 1 pit stop each in this race, I'd be amazed, put it that way. 1 mandatory pit stop between the 20th and 40th minute in the race. Ricardo Feller on pole position then, and alongside him, Sheldon van der Linde. Lucas Auer is on the 2nd row of the grid, and so too is David Schumacher. His first time experiencing this in the 2nd season of DTM, his best ever grid. We're about to go racing for the 8th time this season at the Nürburgring. It's race 2, 60 minutes plus 1 lap of race action. about to get underway, and the lights change from red to green. And on the left of your picture, Ricardo Feller, the pole sitter, looks like he's made a good start. Watch out for David Schumacher on the inside. Out wide is Sheldon van der Linde. Schumacher is going to be there, I think, but Sheldon's trying to hang it around the outside to hold on to that second place. He'll have the inside line for the left-hander. There's carnage behind it. Oh no, Kelvin van der Linde off again. He's got a bit further out the first corner this time, but not much. He's having a nightmare at the moment. He needs another great recovery drive. Out wide has got Dennis Olsen. He's dropped to the back of the field as well in the bright green Porsche off the back of a good qualifying session, and he looks like he's limping. So the Manthey EMA Porsche of Dennis Olsen, the Norwegian, I think might be headed back to the pits with a drama, but everybody's safely through. Wittmann starting from the pit lane, Bortolotti not starting at all after yesterday's race win, and Sheldon van der Linde going backwards and getting a love tap there from Lauren Heinrich on board with Thomas Briding trying to make his way through from the middle of the grid here as he charges through into the second sector, coming out now of turn number 7 and heading up what looks like a dry line up the hill. A massive lead for Ricardo Feller at the head of the pack. There's Jesper Vega trying to find a way past the Ferrari of Thierry Vermeulen, but Sheldon van der Linde has plummeted down to 10th place on that run through the first sequence of corners, the first half lap of the race. Schumacher is in second, Auer is in third, Heidemann with a mega start is in 4th place, Jack Aitken 5th, Maro Engel in 6th place. And Max Paul, welcome to the DTM. He's there in 7th place after finishing in the points yesterday. But Ricardo Feller at the end of lap 1, Brian, he's gone.
Yes, we thought he might do that. Checking out, looking back at Yusufa Vega, he was trailing smoke just now. I wonder if that might be some bodywork rubbing. There was a lot of contact in that first lap, a lot of nudging. Most of them have survived. Look at Sheldon van der Linde taking a completely different line into the corner. Kelvin van der Linde into the pits. This is looking like a retirement.
Incident between Kelvin van der Linde and Dennis Olsen under investigation. Both of them down the back of the field and Kelvin in the pits. It's going to be a tyre change. Yeah, it was on wets. He's gone to slicks, might as well. This won't count as your mandatory stop, though, so still going to have to come in, don't forget, afterwards. Right, they weave their way through. You always felt there were going to be carnage in that race. So he's struggling, isn't he? He's on the wet tyre, I suspect. Is he, or is he on the dry and everybody else is on the wet? But he's struggling with the car, struggling with the tyres, Sheldon van der Linde. That's his issue, I reckon. Dennis Olsen with tyres. Sheldon van der Linde losing another place. Arjun Maini getting ahead of him then on a bit of a charge here. He's due a good result as well in the HRT Mercedes, but he's got Jesper Vega at the inside of him at the moment. So 2 Mercedes together, and you're on board with Sheldon van der Linde, who looks, for all the world, like he's on the wrong tyre at the moment for these conditions. The car isn't exactly slipping and sliding around, so kind of suspect he's on wets, would you say, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, it looks as though it could be a case. We did see yesterday the drivers were struggling to fire the tyres up in the wet conditions, the wet weather tyres, but we don't know who's on what. We can only guess at the moment. There is still rain in the air, so those that are on wets may do well to hold on out there. Thomas Briding under attack from Lauren Heinrich.
For 9th place, and Lauren just about to squeeze through, but Thomas Briding keeps his foot in. The championship leader here. He's had a pretty good start to the race, hasn't he? Up into the top 10. So they barrel down towards us on either side of the start finish, straight into turn 1, but Lauren should be there. And Porsche Carrera Cup German champion versus the former Porsche Carrera Cup Germany champion go into turn 1 with Heinrich ahead. So through he goes. A chaotic start to the race once again. Let's get some news from Verena.
What a huge disappointment for Mirko Bortolotti and his team that you couldn't take part in the race. Do you know what the problem is with the car by now?
No, we have no idea at the moment. The guys tried everything to solve the issue. We had a technical issue in qualifying, as you could see. So that's the reason why I had the spin and why I had stopped there and I couldn't restart the car, so I had to retire from qualifying. The entire team, everybody in the garage was working only on my car from qualifying until the start of the race. We tried everything to make it work. Yeah, we were ready to go out, and but we couldn't manage to get it running. So yeah, one of those days.
What a huge disappointment. Thank you very much, Wilco, and back to you.
Thanks, yeah. So that's the reason he came off by the looks of things. Look at this battle going on. In amongst it, Maro Engel. And you've also got Max Paul there in the Lamborghini. And Luca Engslu had a mega start to the race. He got it into the top 10. Luca was back on the 9th row of the grid.
He did actually get past Max Paul briefly there, was challenging Maro Engel, then ran out wide onto the dirt, gathered it all up. He's got all that hard work to do again now, so he launches his attack had all sorts of problems with that car in qualifying yesterday. They found the problem and are now fighting at the front half of the pack, but he needs to keep it off the dirt and on the track. Once again, on the inside of Max Paul, under braking into turn 1. Has he got past? Well, we'll find out in a bit. That was a quick view on board with Jack Aitken.
Yeah, with Lauren Heinrich now in front of him. Lauren's another one charging through the field. He's come from the 11th on the grid, from the 6th row of the grid. Max Paul has been, and Luca Engsler have been told to change positions. There it comes up on your screen. So the official's not happy with that. And on to the grass, Arjun Maini, after a pretty good start to the race. He's dropping out of the points now as a result of that. He was 13th. Very wet, sodden grass. He drags half of the mud back onto the track, which makes the track even more slippery and slidey for everybody else. Yeah, Lauren Heinrich fallen back a little bit there, hasn't he? I mean, now he was in front of Jack Aitken last time we saw him, but the Porsche, number 75 Porsche, slipped back down the order. So he's had a moment somewhere in the middle of the lap. So that should put Jack Aitken there in 5th. So Feller is 1st, Schumacher 2nd, Auer 3rd, Tim Heinemann has popped up to 4th, Jack Aitken is 5th, Maro Engel is 6th, Max Paul 7th, Luca Engsler then leading this scrap for 8th place at the moment. Rennie Rassler back down towards the back of the field. He's just gained a place back, but he's only 19th at the moment, and 2 places in front of him, Sheldon van der Linde in 17th. I suspect praying for rain.
Yes, they're a long way back, a lot of work to do from there. I should think Luca Engsler should consider a career in rallycross. He spent so much time on the grass. And Max Paul up into 7th place on only his 2nd time ever in DTM and his 1st time this weekend. And he has done a great job in that Lamborghini. He and Maro Engel now running side by side into turn 1, sweeping around the outside. He goes very deep into the corner, gathers it all up, but he's got the line into turn 2. So Max Paul moving forwards, Maro Engel now coming under pressure from Luca Engsler.
On board with Lauren Heinrich, so it was Vermeulen he was battling with, not Aitken on the previous lap, but he's made good progress from more than halfway down the field. So up into 8th place now at Lauren Heinrich. Great battle going on here. They're just trying to control the slide of the cars here, that greasy circuit. And with Maro Engel there in the bright yellow and green Mercedes, number 48, trying to hang on to a top 6 position here, but out wide he goes. Luca Engsler gets up the inside of him, and Lauren Heinrich tries to do the same, but fails to do so as we go back to Verena in the pits.
And I'm here with Dennis Olsen. Dennis, from your point of view, what happened? It was the incident with Sheldon van der Linde that you had to end your race already?
Well, the contact was with Kelvin, his brother, but unfortunately there was nothing I could do. Kelvin went for the outside, so to be honest, he was unlucky to be in a position. I was braking on the inside, and there was one guy taking a more than opportunistic move, and he would never make the corner. He pushed me wide and into Kelvin as well and destroyed our races. I hope there will be action for it. We have a lot of damage on the car, and yeah, it's really disappointing.
Thank you very much, Dennis. Bad luck, and now back to you.
Yeah, so that's Dennis Olsen's point of view. Now, look at this. Luki Auer has caught up to Schumacher. He's about to dive down the inside. Is he to get 2nd place away from the German? The Austrian gets his nose in front. Tim Heinemann just behind as well, tries to show his nose, but Lukas Auer goes through and into 2nd place. I spoke to Luki yesterday after the race, and said, does that podium almost feel like a win? Does it feel like one of your best podiums after everything you've been through this year with your injury? And he said, yeah, big smile on his face. He said, yeah, it does, as we get Maro Engel and Lukas Stoltz going side by side. But he says he's feeling physically kind of, at full chat now. He's 100%. His issue really has been the time that he lost pre-season in the pre-season test. So he said we've been slowly catching up, but each weekend the results have got better and better, and he's right back on form here at the Nürburgring. That is for sure. Here's Thomas Priding versus Matthias Drudy. Goes wide off the road, onto the mud. Keep off the throttle, keep out of the barrier, but loses 5 or 6 places as a result of that. He does, though, get the Attempto Audi back onto the track at least. It's so wet as you go offline. Sheldon van der Linde gets a little nudge on the shoulder from Thierry Vermeulen, and Lukas Auer has got the lead of the race away from Ricardo Feller. Suddenly, now Feller was 0.6 of a second clear at the start of the lap, so as he maybe slipped wide off camera somewhere, because Lukas just throttled past him there. I suspect he might have had a bad exit maybe coming out of turn 7 there, and the Ferrari of Jack Aitken has had a moment at the chicane as well. You're on board with him now, so he's losing places from 5th, going to lose a couple of places The rain looks like it started to come down more heavily, looking at the commentary box window, so it's suddenly getting slippy and slidey. I suspect Ricardo Feller had a moment. He might be about to lose second place now as well. On board with David Schumacher down the inside. Schumacher gets his nose in front. He was really impressive, Schumacher, in qualifying in these conditions this morning. Goes deep into the corner, but that's okay, because the left-hander coming up will favour the Mercedes. And look at Tim Heinemann right behind in fourth place, trying to get himself his first podium since the first weekend of the season. 3 abreast, Schumacher in second. Who's going to be in third place here? Ricardo Feller gets on the gas, but there's no traction. The slick tyre's struggling, and Heinemann goes through and up into third place. Remember, Heinemann was the championship leader after Oschersleben, but hasn't really had much luck or any good results since then. But this is going well for him. Lucas Auer leads. And then we've got David Schumacher in second, Tim Heinemann in third, and the former race leader, Ricardo Feller, a lap ago was first, he's now fourth.
And he had such a lead up until then. I think it's raining quite hard on the other side of the circuit, and that's what's catching Ricardo Feller out. Lots of challenges for position. That's Clemens Schmid on the outside of the Attempto Audi. But there are changes up and down the pack. Everybody really working hard to deal with these challenging conditions. There's Sheldon van der Linde. You can see him sliding on the outside, Matthias Drudy. But there are a lot of place changes. I think the rain is increasing, and those are on slick tyres are really struggling, as is René Rast out of the corner.
Welcome to the World Drifting Championships here at Nürburgring, everybody. They are getting totally sideways here. He's stone last in terms of the remaining runners, 24th. Marco Wittmann, we know, came in to switch from wets to slicks. But last time around, he was 2 to 3 seconds lap quicker than everybody else.
I'm just not really quick. Maybe damage or I don't know.
Copy. We keep our heads down. We're running P10. Good job, mate. We're running P10. We keep going. You're doing good.
Quite catch what Thomas was saying there. I think discussion about tyres, though, wasn't it? Well, which there's going to be lots of now.
I think the message was, well, just keep doing what you're doing, because if you pit now, you could lose an awful lot of places. And, of course, the team have a lot more information about the weather than the drivers probably do. We saw Arjun Maini on the grass, didn't we, dropping out of the points a few laps ago. Incident between him and Jesse Verwege under investigation, so that might be the reason why he was on the grass. As we continue to watch this battle inside the top 10. Stoltz, Engel, 9th, 10th. And we've got there as well the number 75 Porsche of Lauren Heinrich. And straight on, I'm afraid, goes Jack Aitken. The Ferrari goes off at the hairpin at turn 5. There is a gap there in the barriers, but you can't quite get through it. The turning circle not that good at low speed, so trying to select reverse gear now as calmly and as quickly as he can. And there you can see, now the car is stationary, how much the rain has definitely started to come down. You see it much more on a shot like that. So Aitken, I'm afraid, off the road here. Max Paul, Luca Engsler still going side by side. They've been locked together for a while, these two. Well, that was brave from Luca with the wheel on the grass, the wheels through the gravel. He's going to get there first, I think, in this battle. They're right behind Ricardo Feller. So 5th for Engsler, 6th place for Paul. On board with Lauren Heinrich, who's continuing to impress. He's got up to 7th place now. Jack Aitken has found the right gear. He's got himself back on track. But right at the back of the field now, I'm afraid, for Jack with work to do. He might as well try something different now. I think maybe we'll see somebody like Jack coming into the pits and going for the wet tyre, because it's got very slippy out there. It just depends, Brian, what the information is in terms of how long this rain is going to last, as Lucas Stoltz loses, or tries to get a place rather back from Lauren Heinrich. He goes a bit deep into the corner. Up ahead of him, you've got Max Paul ahead of Luca Engsler now as well. So Max up to 5th place. Great weekend he's having. Yes, I think with Jack Aitken, this is probably turning into something of a test session, but now a challenge from David Schumacher and, well, Tim Heinemann onto David Schumacher. So Heinemann up into that 2nd place. David Schumacher looking at the back of the Porsche. So Heinemann finding traction when nobody else is, and David Schumacher seemingly unable to return the compliment. Behind them, Ricardo Feller dropping back into the clutches of Max Paul and Luca Engsler.
Replay on board with David Schumacher as we see how Tim Heinemann managed to squeeze himself through at turn 2. He got the inside line and his nose in front at turn 3. Schumacher was always going to try and hang on around the outside here for the right-hander coming up, but the door closed and that was the job done. So the 2-time DTM trophy champion Tim Heinemann through and into 2nd place, looking for his 3rd podium finish of the season. About a 2.5 seconds behind the race leader, Lucas Auer. So Auer in the lead, Heinemann 2nd, Schumacher 3rd. Feller in 4th, Max Paul up to 5th, Luca Engsler 6th, Lauren Heinrich 7th, Stoltz, Engel and Vega rounding out the top 10. That incident between Vega and Meining won't be investigated until after the race. And they can see from the windscreen, rain coming down more and more and more now.
Car 91, that's Thomas Preining, is under investigation for leaving the track at turn 9, so it looks like he would have skipped the chicane. Now it is the 4-car, Lucas Stoltz, on the inside of Ricardo Feller along the pit straight. Ricardo Feller really going backwards through the pack at the moment, struggling for traction, clearly with a low downforce setup as well into turn 1. Lucas Stoltz has been marching forwards very steadily since the beginning of this race. We've seen him pull away from his ex-teammate and friend Mauro Engel. Now further up the road, he's caught up with Ricardo Feller. He goes around Ricardo Feller with apparent ease. Behind Feller is Lauren Heinrich and Mauro Engel also looking to pounce. Ricardo Feller looks like he's just surviving as best he can until the pit window opens. I'm suggesting that in about 1 minute and 3/4, when the pit window opens, he's going to be one of the first stoppers into the garages.
Yeah, Stoltz going well. 18th on the grid. He started there in the yellow HRT Mercedes. So he's the latest one to get past Ricardo Feller. On board with Lauren Heinrich now, involved in this battle and onto the tail of Ricardo Feller with Mauro Engel queued up behind him. Mauro on course for an 8th consecutive point-scoring finish, which is really handy in a season which has had lots of ups and downs for drivers, that consistency. So he's out there in that battle as well. Josef Vega's come from a long way down the field as well to be involved in this battle for a top 10 finish, top 15 score points. We saw Matthias Drutti go off the road earlier on. He's come back pretty well, hasn't he? He's back up to 13th place now. He's just got past Thierry Vermeulen. There's Arjun Maini went off the road earlier after presumably contact with Josef Vega, and he's got back into the points in 15th. A long way behind him and just out of the points in 16th is René Rast. And there you can see René's teammate Sheldon van der Linde in the red and yellow Schubert Motorsports BMW, which started on the front row of the grid, but has tumbled down to 17th place at the moment.
Sandra Holzem and Clemens Schmid running together out on track. Sandra Holzem, well, it is quite a baptism of fire and water here for his debut weekend in the DTM, but he's doing a great job to be leading René Rast at this point in a race. Well, that's pretty good going, isn't it?
Van der Linde's dropped a couple more on that lap. Actually, he's 19th at the moment. I was just noticing Deleda was in front, or in between him and René Rast. Rast 17th. And Sheldon van der Linde 19th. Kelvin van der Linde back out on track. 24th and a lap down. Nightmare weekend. It is worth getting back out there, though, just in case, isn't it? So there was the contact that Dennis Olsen was describing. Cannon effect. See if we can see any more from this point of view. To your right is Olsen. To the left is Kelvin van der Linde. And there was tight on the inside. It's really starting to lash it down now. Looking at the commentary box window, can't see a lot out of it. It's like somebody's put a hose pipe on it. And yeah, Dennis Olsen was saying he got squeezed from the inside and sent out wide. That involvement with Tim Heinemann in the Porsche at the inside, who survived all of that, got through, and he's up to 2nd place now. The weather is filthy out there, isn't it? And it's one of the Attempto Audis that's gone off the road there, and bells for the pits. Thinks I've had enough of this. Let's get the wet tyres on.
Yeah, I think anyone on slicks is going to be making an early stop here. You've got to, surely. The track is looking really hazardous. Anyone who started the race on wets, you'd expect them to stay out quite late in the pit window. I thought there'd be more coming in. Certainly Ricardo Feller, we figured he might be in trouble, so he's going to come in. Would almost guarantee they're going to put wets on the number 7 Audi.
Yeah, I think they've just been waiting for the pit window so they can get it done in one pit stop and not have to come in again. It's Patrick Niederhauser that went off the road and came into the pits just in front of Ricardo Feller, but Ricardo is the first of the front runners to come in. So Feller brings the car down to the maximum speed limit. 6 can work on the car. Change the rears, change the fronts. Got to be wet tyres going on, hasn't it? Yet wet tyres going on the car. He was on slicks, like we suspected most of them were. Away he goes. Slicks stopped that. Best stop of the weekend so far. Emile Frey Racing on Jack Aitken yesterday, 5.76 seconds. I think I'm right in saying that's the best stop of the year so far, actually. Trouble is, had 3 pit stops yesterday, which wasn't ideal. So Niederhauser out on the wet tyre, so too Feller, and the key thing now is going to be to watch the lap times for those on wet tyres versus those on slicks. They're going to be miles quicker, surely, and that will trigger everybody else to come into the pits. But real skill being shown here by our race leader, Lucas Auer.
Some cars are changing now to wet tyres. Some cars are changing now to wet tyres. So we are on the right strategy, man. Let's keep pushing. Very good job. Keep managing the tyres.
We know Lucas started on the wet tyre, don't we? Or at least that's the last we saw of him on the wet tyre when it was mentioned in Sheldon van der Linde's interview. But there were various flurries later on. Slicks coming off Sheldon's car, then wet's going on. So thank goodness for that, because he was struggling big time. And Marco Wittmann comes in. Probably wishes, in a way, he'd stayed on the wets now. He came in at the end of the first formation lap, didn't he? He would have been dreadfully slow to start with. But he would have picked up a load of time, wouldn't he, in the last 5 or 6 minutes with all this rain?
Yeah, I think Project One have done exactly what Emil Frey did yesterday. Tried to anticipate, but probably gone a little bit too quickly. And he's probably thinking about certain chances that have been lost as he comes out onto the track.
Expect to be lapped, isn't he, by the race leader?
Absolutely. Lucas Auer coming round. Just to remind you, Lucas Auer is carrying extra 10 kilos success penalty. I think in these conditions, some would say that actually that additional weight might actually even help.
Yeah, it certainly has less of a detrimental effect. That's absolutely right. So Auer, nearly 3.5 seconds clear. But look at Max Paul. He's up into third place. He's got ahead of Schumacher. He's trying to be in second place now. Has he got through? Has he threaded it through at turn 4? He's trying. It's going to be side by side with Heinemann, but he'll be on the inside line at the hairpin for turn 5. So it's going to be Max Paul through. He gets there before they even hit the brakes. So Max Paul up to second place now. Made his debut at the DTM at the Red Bull Ring 2 years ago. He's back just at the moment for this weekend, racing in the International GT Open Championship, so he can't commit to any more or all of the remaining races in DTM this season. But he's really putting himself in a good light here. If people are looking for a driver for next season, Max Paul's name might just have shifted up the list a little bit after this weekend.
Well, we always knew he was good, having watched him at GT Masters. He was pretty stellar there, although he's only ever finished in third place and never any higher, so he's looking to improve on that. In second place now. This could be an absolutely brilliant move for him in the DTM. The incident that we saw at the start of the race with Dennis Olsen and Kelvin van der Linde, the stewards have taken a look at it and have said no further action. I think Kelvin van der Linde will have something to say about that, and perhaps Dennis Olsen as well, but no further action, so as you were.
So do we think Max Paul, Tim Heinemann, drivers like that potentially, Luca Enxler as well from a long way down the field, already started on the wets, potentially the way they're going, and still looking good and in no hurry to come into the pits. Sheldon van der Linde in danger of being lapped here by Lucas Auer. He could do with really keeping Lucas behind him. Back in 20th place. Marco Wittmann has already been lapped. He's there in 21st position. Sheldon van der Linde from the right tyre now, but he's got to get them, if he can, a bit up to temperature and just try to get used to the grip that's now available to him. He's not going to fight too hard here, or is he? Because at the inside of him through the left, but on the outside through the right is Lucas Auer. No, he will keep him behind. Still 15 minutes to go before the pit window closes. Lucas Auer, no hurry, because the car absolutely flying on wet tyres already. And there he goes. He's going to put a lap on the driver that's second in the championship. Lucas Auer climbing up the championship table all the time as well this weekend, up to 9th place in the points after yesterday's results. So he puts a lap on Sheldon van der Linde. Next to try and come through on Marco Wittmann is going to be the Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini of Maximilian Paul. Been a pretty good day for a weekend for Austrians so far, with Lucas Auer getting a podium yesterday, Thomas Preining getting a podium extending his championship lead, and now the Austrian team, Grasser Racing Team, GRT, with Maximilian Paul on a podium place.
Absolutely brilliant stuff. Now, we had this question at the beginning, who's on wets and who's on slicks? I think the answer to your question is those on slicks are probably those with the green markings next to their numbers on your graphics. Those that are staying out, the top 16 now, I reckon are all on wet tyres and probably started on wet tyres. Lucas Auer is so dialed in. But look at Max Paul weaving through the traffic. He needs to stay out of trouble. It's so easy to trip over a back marker, especially in these conditions when you're trying to chase down the leader. Schumacher into the pits.
Yeah, the green marks, the ones that have been in the pits so far. So Feller, for example, on the wet tyre, as we know, Rennie Rast has been in and changed. Schumacher comes in. Stoltz in the background coming in as well. Lucas Auer 2.2 seconds clear. Max Paul stays out in the lead of the race. So Schumacher, really impressive in the greasy conditions in qualifying. Really impressive so far. Off the back of 3 nightmare race results, really. Brand new wet tyres, at least going onto the rears. Will there be brand new stickered fronts? There might be. Either way, they look like they're in good condition. He's dropped off the jacks. He's released back out. Pretty good stop that seemed to be. So Schumacher heads back out in the number 27 car, Team Winwood, with their other driver in the lead of the race, of course, Lucas Auer. So he will rejoin in the dry 35, 36, 37 seconds all told for a pit stop. In the wet obviously takes longer than that. So Schumacher comes back out now and will take a lap or so to try and get things up to temperature. Niederhauser was that coming through ahead of him as he rejoined. Oh, look at Lucas Stoltz all over the place at the moment. Right, look at this. Heinemann and van der Linde a lap apart. You can barely see the cars now, just the lights popping through, all that surface water, all that spray that's being lined up.
Heinemann's got past Paul, hasn't he?
Yes, he has. Heinemann is running in second place. Paul has dropped to third, and in between them, you've got Sheldon van der Linde, although he's just been lapped again by Max Paul. So still struggling, isn't he, even though he's on the wet tyre now. And Heinemann comes in. So, right, I had a bad lap. I'm going to come in. And now's the time to change tyres. So he comes in now. 12 minutes or so. The pit window remain. And Heinemann comes in.
Luca Engstler is very much in there as well. Sorry, carry on.
I was going to say his battle's going to be, love the purple lights of that Porsche, by the way. His battle's going to be with Schumacher, isn't it? So we need to keep an eye on where Schumacher is. Having made his pit stop on the previous lap.
Yeah, so in he comes, ready for his start. It's going to be wet tyres. Yeah, as I was about to say, Luca Engstler has been very rapid so far. His best result of the year so far has been a couple of 14th places. So this is a very strong running for the Liqui Moly team, Engstler.
Yeah, retired yesterday, didn't he? Pretty early on in the race. We've got a penalty lap coming up, I'm afraid, for Lucas Stoltz for a pit stop infringement. Having had a pretty good race up until that point. Right, where is Schumacher in all of this? He wasn't popping up on our screen. But he's the closest battle. We've got Ricardo Feller and Lucas Stoltz have just gone over the start-finish line in front of the commentary box. So Heinemann is well clear of all of them. And in 11th place, Thierry Vermeulen is the highest placed pit stopper at the moment. There's confirmation of the penalty lap for Lucas Stoltz. So he's got to go through the penalty box, drop to 80k for that run through the pit box, which costs the drive about 5 seconds, maybe a bit more in the wet. It's on the exit to turn 1 on the inside of the circuit.
The fastest man on the track has been Marco Wittmann, 1:35.871. Admittedly, it was earlier on in the race on lap 5, but Marco Wittmann, who we saw make that early stop, has been the fastest man, and it still holds the fastest lap of the race so far. You just see him there coming through your picture, as you see Max Paul, Luca Engstler, and Lauren Heinrich as well coming through.
It's a good stop for Schumacher, 5.7 seconds stationary, but he may have lost time on the way in and the way out, so we'll see how that affects things. But it was a pretty good stop from the team. Schumacher out well clear of Feller and well clear of Stoltz as well. But he's had a moment. So that's him running wide at turn 11, 2 wheels through the gravel trap. This is the rear-facing camera from on board with David Schumacher. Jack Aitken coming, or about to come up the inside of him as he was out wide, maybe because the Ferrari was where he wanted to be on the inside line. So not too bad, but of course it cost him acceleration and traction coming out and started the next lap on the back foot as well, didn't he? So we've got all the front runners in the top 10 have yet to make their pit stops. Tim Heinemann in 11th place has made a pit stop. He's the leading pit stopper. And then, Vermeulen hasn't made a pit stop. It's Heinemann in 11th, just behind Vermeulen, the first of the pit stoppers.
An incident between Thomas Preining and Yusuf Vega is under investigation by a race steward. So Preining is currently running in 6th place and Vega down in 8th. So it sounds like they've come together and the stewards are taking a look at it.
So who'd have thought this? Marco Wittmann, Sheldon van der Linde, René Rast, Kelvin van der Linde. Well, that was with an accident. They're all 1 lap down in the race.
Wow, how things change and how the weather...
Looking a bit tricky out there, isn't it, through the chicane. He's got to stay out though, isn't he, Lucas Sauer?
You got more? I was about to say how the weather shakes things up. It is the great leveller, isn't it? And it really does give us a very mixed up race. And Lucas Auer, he is reveling in these conditions, as is Max Paul back up into that 2nd place and Luca Engstler in 3rd ahead of Lauren Heinrich. They're all having their best runs of the season.
So Heinemann easily the best of the drivers that made a pit stop. Feller has gained some places back, or at least 1, because he's ahead of Schumacher by 2.5 seconds, not helped by Schumacher's run through a gravel trap that we saw. Stoltz is 4th place of the pit stoppers, and then in 5th place in terms of those that have made a pit stop. Arjun Maini is in the mix here for some good points all of a sudden. And then Olsen going well. He's the 6th best of the pit stoppers. Then Wittmann, who is trying not to be a lap down. Right, here comes into the pits to change to wet tyres from wets to wets by the looks of things, is from Pereira, trying to drag something out of this weekend. And for SSR Performance, they could do with some joy after Mirko Bortolotti had his issues with the car. So pitting from 8th place from Pereira. Let's see where he comes out in amongst those that have already made their pit stop. You're looking at the battle for the lead hour. There's Paul in the red and black Lamborghini in 2nd. Marco Wittmann behind, he's a lap down, and then 3rd at the moment on the track is Luca Engsler, on board with Thomas Preining.
Okay, mate, full attack, box, 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 box this lap. Quali lap, in lap, pit in attack.
Go for it then, they say. Thomas Preining, quali in lap, quali out lap. You've got to make your time up there. Ooh, that looks a bit leery. Was that Max Paul putting a couple of wheels on the grass coming out of turn 8? Didn't lose too much time, but it looked like the car was dancing around a little bit, didn't it? Auer stays out. Wittmann's already been in the pits. Paul stays out. Engsler staying out on track as well, and so too Lauer and Heinrich. There's Maro Engel coming through in 5th in the yellow Mercedes. And in from 6th place then comes the championship leader, Thomas Preining. He said yesterday that 3rd place felt like a race win with all the success ballast on board. But given his grid position, if he can get a top 6 finish out of this today, I think he'll actually be fairly satisfied with that. And Josefa Vega coming into the pits as well, just behind him in the team BWT Mercedes. He's up there in the points once again, Josef.
So Thomas Preining, he has that 5 kilograms he's carrying. As a result of the 3rd place yesterday, the front bumper has been in the water. That's hanging off now. The team needs to do something about that. If they send him out like that, he may well get called back into the pits. Well, they've decided to send him out, but surely he's going to get a black and orange flag for that.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully, from his point of view, wind resistance will keep it in place, keep blowing back against it. Because we didn't really notice it when he was out on track, did we? But it's a bit of a worry, isn't it? Lights come on. There's no point putting any sticky tape on it on a day like this. It wouldn't stick at all, would it? It's so wet out there. So, yeah, I mean, it looks OK now with the wind sort of pushing it and holding it in place, but it might be a bit of a worry, this.
Well, we see that he's under investigation for an incident with Josefa Vega, so clearly those are connected. There is a Vega into the pits as well in the pink Mercedes. This is a replay of that stop. He hits the marks, the tyres have been changed, but the front is hanging on by a thread at the moment.
It is, yeah. So he got a warning as well, Thomas Preining, for forcing another driver to leave the track just before he came into the pits. 5 minutes or so of the pit window remain. Lucas Auer is going to stay out. Marco Wittmann a lap down is the next one through shot. Then Max Paul 2nd in the race. Luca Engsler in the red and blue Audi. And in comes Maro Engel from 5th place. He's the next of the front runners to come through. Sheldon van der Linde on the other side of the pit wall is there a lap down, currently in 20th position. So Maro Engel in. Another driver that keeps being there or thereabouts this season. One of the 7 different race winners we've had so far. We might get 8 out of 8. Yesterday, when we got our 7th different race winner from the first 7 races of the championship, that was a record. That was history. It's never happened before in the DTM. Right on board with Jack Aitken at the moment. He's in 11th place. And he's got to make a pit stop yet, but he's still got a chance here of getting some points out of it. Not as many as he would have liked. Up on the jacks now, drop down is Maro Engel's Mercedes. So he is going to rejoin. René Rast coming through the shot at the front of the picture. In the background, the next group of cars. So where's Maro Engel going to come out now? Over the line have gone Heinemann and Feller. Ricardo Feller absolutely side by side with Heinemann as he went past the commentary box. Here they come into your shot. Feller is on the outside and he's going to be in front, isn't he? Yeah, whips around the outside. Great move that, really brave. Just dancing around under braking with all that surface water. That downhill run was Heinemann. Couldn't do anything but stop the Audi coming through. So good move that from Ricardo Feller. Pole sitter, remember, is looking for his 2nd win of the season.
So he was going backwards at the first stint as Heinemann goes very deep into the corner. Clearly, they've got the wet weather tyres on. They've got the setup right now. So he's got to try and make up that ground. Currently in that 8th position, Ricardo Feller pushing forwards from there. But he looks like a man on a mission. That is Jack Aitken. He's been in for his stop, but he's a long, long way back, isn't he?
Yeah, he's pitted from outside the top 10. Whoa, is that Alessio Delaney getting all skittish on the outside? Oh, off the road he goes, the Italian. I think he might have put the left-hand wheels on the painted white line there under braking of the car. He just lost all control. off into the same gravel trap he was off in the race yesterday. Yesterday caused a safety car. I think he might just do the same today as one of our top 3 comes in, and it's Luca Engstler. And the Liqui Moly team swap the tyres, put more wets on. Having a great race so far is Luca Engstler, having started the race on the 9th row of the grid, back in 17th position.
That's a great stop. Absolutely timed to perfection. They've clearly been rehearsing that. They get him back out onto the track. He stops the clock. Full course yellow, so if only he could have come in a little bit later, because that would have really advantaged him. But a 39.2 pit stop, a 7.6 stationary. That was great stuff from the Engstler team. But yes, he'll be thinking, oh, if only we'd left it another lap.
Yeah, I don't know if he's already in the pit lane entry, but if the team had seen that off the road had gone delayed, you'd have thought they'd have got on the radio and said, no, don't come in yet, wait for a lap, because there might be full course yellow, there might be a safety car. In which case, because everybody's going slowly on track, you lose less track position. It's almost a free pit stop, isn't it, if that happens? But that hasn't quite worked out. But for those who have yet to make a pit stop, this is great news. Lucas Auer, Max Paul, yet to make a pit stop at the top 2. And Thierry Vermeulen hasn't made a pit stop. He's already up to 5th place. With everybody else on track going slowly, he's suddenly going to be in the mix, isn't he, Thierry Vermeulen, in the Ferrari?
Yeah, Jack Aiken will be looking on at that going, why can't that be me? I'm in the same car.
I know, bad luck and bad timing again for Jack Aiken and Emile Frey Racing. You get one lap later, it would have been a much more fruitful pit stop for Jack, wouldn't it?
He needs to stop walking under ladders, he really does. He's not had the rub of the green since the opening round at Oschersleben, where he finished on the podium in the first race. That will feel like a dim and distant memory now. Lucas Auer, though, coming around nice and slowly under the full course yellow, staying to 80 kilometers an hour, peels off into the pits. It's a no-brainer, as does Max Paul, and also the Porsche of that is
Lauren Heinrich, yeah.
Lauren Heinrich,
From third
Heinrich,
place,
yes,
yeah.
beg your pardon, yes, into the pits as well. So that's an absolute no-brainer. Get in, of course, with the race under full course yellow, you're going to lose a whole lot less ground than you would do under green flag conditions.
Yeah, it's that top 3 plus Thierry Vermeulen, who we should see coming into the pits in the background soon-ish. The only ones yet to make a pit stop. So it's another reason, really, isn't it, in a wet race, if everything's going okay, you haven't got real dramas with the tyres in the car, you know, wait as late as you can, because there's always more chance in these conditions that there is going to be an off, that there is going to be a full course yellow or a safety car. So good strategy that, I reckon. I mean, you know, it's always a gamble, but there was no reason for it to be a problem. Lucas Auer then is released, then Max Paul, and then Lauren Heinrich. So in the order they were previously, they should all come out to completely empty track, or more or less empty track, shouldn't they, with everybody else behind full course yellow, reduced pace.
Luca Engstler is only just coming around turn 11 at the moment, so that has gained them an awful lot of ground when you think Engstler was up with them before this full course yellow came out. So Engstler now just coming along the pit straight. And
Thierry Vermeulen just making it into the pit lane now.
Oh, just in the nick of time as the pit window closes.
So you got the likes of Thomas Priding coming out of turn 11, Ricardo Feller, Tim Heinemann. They're all probably just about going to creep past Thierry Vermeulen, but he's not going to be far behind them, is he? Because they're this reduced pace. Over the start-finish line goes Ricardo Feller, then Heinemann.
The Emil Frey crew have had a lot of rehearsals of pit stops this weekend, putting a new set of sticker tyres on that number 69 car. Away he goes, very gentle pull away, right near the pit exit. He rejoins, and it's going to be behind Ricardo Feller.
Yeah.
So he's made up a bit of ground, so that'll be 9th place, I should think, for Thierry Vermeulen.
So Auer, Paul, and Heinrich well clear. Engstler, and then between Lauren Heinrich and Luca Engstler, massive gap with that essentially free pit stop. Engstler coming through then in 4th, and then it'll be Engel 5th. Priding should still be 6th place, I think, which will be a real result, won't it, from where he started on the grid.
Yeah, that's going to count for an awful lot come the end of the season, because it looked at one point like he was going to struggle to get into the points today, but 6th place, he will have that. If you'd offered that him this morning, he'd have taken your hand off, I should think.
Yeah, I think so. And he might get some more out of this as well. Just hope that front bumper stays where it's supposed to be.
This is a replay.
Yeah.
Why we're under full course yellow. Yeah. Jack Aitken coming out of the pits, and I think Alessio Delida just getting a little bit spooked by it, going wide onto the white line, no grip at all, and then he's in the kitty litter, going no further. Yeah,
Delida actually put his wheels on the pit lane exit line rather than the line on the outside of the circuit. That's where he lost his grip.
We're back under green conditions. Full course yellow is over, and Thierry Vermeulen is under investigation for an infringement to do with the pit stop window. So there might be more trauma for the Emil Frey racing team. But we are back under green flag conditions, and Luke Sauer leads the way.
He does indeed, and on course for his first win of the season here. What a comeback story that would be. It was impressive enough yesterday, that second place finish. Remember, he wasn't that far behind Mirko Bortolotti at the end of the race yesterday. But if he can walk away with a win, just 4 weekends into his comeback in the DTM after this horrific back injury that he suffered pre-season, that will be quite a story. He's a really popular figure in the paddock as well, Lucas Sauer. He's a really nice guy, always with a smile on his face, and a lot of people, I think, will be very, very happy for him. But what about Maximilian Paul? He's the other story there in second place, isn't he? This is quite the result for him, with Lauren Heinrich in third. Patrick Niederhauser, by the way, has just come back into the pits for a second time.
Jack Aitken's weekend goes from bad to worse. He's under investigation. Guess what? Speeding under a full course yellow. But he is also joined very significantly by Sheldon van der Linde, the #1 car, also under investigation for speeding under the yellow flag. So there could be penalties incoming. Jack Aitken, well, he and the stewards have got a very close relationship, but he's really needs to stop speeding under yellow and red flags.
Thomas Preining is going to score, if he stays in 6th place, 10 points. Shelton van der Linde, he's not going to get any points at the moment because he's 19th. Mirko Bortolotti, 3rd in the championship, 0 points. He's going to score. 4th in the championship, Ricardo Feller is currently in 7th place behind Preining as well. So 9 points. So all of which means, as it stands, Thomas Preining, despite the bad qualifying this morning, he's going to walk away with an even bigger championship lead. At the moment, he's up to 27 points, the gap from first to second in the championship.
And talking to 27, car 27 is monstering car number 9, Tim Heinemann in 9th place. David Schumacher, who had such a good qualifying session, a good start to the race, he's a long way back in that 10th place. You saw the on-board cameras, and he's getting up and close and personal with the car in front, trying to find a route past. And now the update on our race laps for Wales in Africa, providing clean drinking water in Tanzania and the Gambia. 34,500 euros. Every car that crosses the line scores euros for the race laps for Wales in Africa. A great initiative between BWT and the ADAC. A challenge into turn 1.
Just looking at the points, I reckon Lucas Sauer is going to go from 9th to 5th in the championship if it stays like this, because there's so many people in the top 10 who are currently not scoring championship points. So what a turnaround that will be. Ooh, that was a bit hairy.
This is for the lead.
Lucas. It is for the lead of the race indeed. He's got twitchy Mercedes there. And so Max Paul is right behind him now. So only a length or 2 behind Maximilian Paul. Absolutely nose to tail at one point, but Lucas has just sort of gathered himself back up together, hasn't he, as he makes his way through the right-hander at Hatzenbecksbogen and climbing up the hill towards the Vidal chicane. I think crisis over. He's just got himself a bit more breathing space again now when they get to the braking zone.
Max Paul has been in GT Masters for several years. He seems to be stuck on 3rd places. His best results have been 5 3rd places. Ooh. But now he gets a sniff in GT3 racing, not GT Masters, but DTM. If he can finish as he is, it will be his best ever result in GT3. He must be thinking, I can get past that Mercedes.
Question, is Maximilian Paul considering championship points and the long game? Answer, no. He's not involved in the championships. His one-off appearance at the moment. So, if he gets a sniff of a race victory in the DTM, it might be the only chance he ever gets in his lifetime. You never know. I don't think he will be, because he's a great driver. But he's going to go for it, isn't he, if he gets a chance? And at the moment, it looks like he's got a bit more grip available to him in the Grasshopper Racing Team Lamborghini. The door opens up. Out wide into turn 2 goes Lucas Sauer, but he'll be on the inside through into turn 4 now, and just keeps the Mercedes ahead. Out of turn 4 they come. But he's got loads more grip, loads more traction at the moment, Maximilian Paul. It's just, I think, a case of where can he find a way past. because he's definitely the quicker of the two at the moment as they go into turn 5.
I think he's going to be lining them up as they come out of Vidal chicane. He's getting himself into position. It'll be into turn 11. If he can get a good exit out of turn 11, he'll pick up the slipstream as they come past the pits, and he'll be able to make a move into turn 1. So this is all about setting up that move or pressuring Auer into a mistake. Well, that doesn't happen very often, but he'll be lining them up now as they head towards the chicane in just a few moments. And then I think we're going to see a challenge for the lead.
And Lauren Heinrich behind them, quicker by 0.3 of a second on the last lap as well. If they start fighting each other, holding each other up, don't be surprised if this becomes a three-way fight for the lead. He's coming, coming after them, the third place Porsche of Lauren Heinrich with a clear track ahead of him. No further action for Thierry Vermeulen's pit stop, which is good news for him. So he's settled into 8th place as a result of that. Another luck up the inside into turn 11 from the Lamborghini driver for Grasser Racing Team is all over Lucas Auer at the moment. We got to remember as well, Brian, he can't see where he's going because he's got all the spray coming off the back of that Mercedes.
Yes, absolutely. So Max Paul driving blind here. Is he going to hit his braking point? He goes to the inside. Auer goes to block him, then moves to the outside. Will Max Paul tuck to the inside? No, he won't. He can't make it stick on this lap. But once again, he's following behind the Mercedes. He'll line him up. He'll have another go next time around.
These are not ideal conditions for being a spectator, but I tell you what, you never get a boring wet race, do you? Absolutely fantastic. He's looking at the inside again. This time there's a big twitch from Lucas Auer. This could just be the change of lead. No, not yet, says Lucas Auer. I'm staying where I am, but that looks his best chance. Now he cuts to the inside. This could be the chance. On the way down into the hairpin at turn 5 for Maximilian Paul to become a race leader in the DTM, and that is exactly what happens. Through he goes into the hairpin. Maximilian Paul leads in his 4th ever DTM race from Lucas Auer.
And the looks in the Windward Racing garage says it all, doesn't it? And immediately he opens up a gap at the lead. What a phenomenal drive from Maximilian Paul, guesting here in the DTM. He had a rehearsal 3 weeks ago at the GT Masters, but this is on a different level. And look at that, he's already opened up a gap on the lead. I think that Lucas Auer is falling into the clutches of Lauren Heinrich.
And yeah, behind Maro Engel has got up to 4th place, ahead of Luca Engstler as well. So Engel up to 4th position. He's in a really good position to move up the championship table as well. He was already in 5th place in the championship, but with all those around him not scoring many points, 4th place is going to muster an extra 2 points there. That move will be worth. So 13 points Maro Engel will get, and he's going to be the top for the championship as well. And you got Ricardo Feller then, the next one to attack the Liquid Moly Audi. So Feller, remember, started from pole position, trying to get in on the action as well.
It's all good, mate, all good. Keep your head down, and it's 11 minutes to go. Think about the points. It's very good points at the moment.
Think about the points. Well, absolutely, because Lucas Auer is firing himself back into the championship fight here. Is it going to be a change between the Audis? That fella was absolutely side by side with Engstler as they went over the line in 6th and 7th positions respectively. 6th and 7th because Thomas Preining got ahead of them on the previous lap, and into 5th place now for Tommy Preining. It's all working out beautifully, even on his less successful qualifying days. He's got through to 5th. He's going to end up outscoring everybody that's near him in the championship table and extending his championship lead to closer to 30 points now.
I laugh at the comment, think of the points. Whoever heard of a racing driver who thinks of the points? He wants to win, but you can see the nerves of the GRT Grasser pits. Their man, Maximilian Paul, of course, he's come in to replace Mick Wieshofer in the seat of that car for this event. We hope we're going to see him again, maybe for his home race in a couple of weeks' time at the Lausitz-Ring. But at the moment, on this performance, they're going to be queuing up to get him in the seat, I should think.
Yeah, but really, really impressive, hasn't he? He did well yesterday, but he's been super today, hasn't he, in these conditions? We could see when he was behind Lucas Auer, he was all over him. He was the quicker of the two. It was testament to the Austrian that he was able to keep him at bay for so long. Job not yet done. There he's got Fink Grasser, the boss, the founder of the team, and Mirko Bortolotti to the right of your picture, who's unfortunately, from his point of view, a spectator for this race. He'd love to have been out there, wouldn't he? He could have got something out of this race from the back of the field. It's that kind of race where you get more opportunities, there are more mistakes, there's more drama. But Lucas Auer's going to have to work hard to keep Lauren Heinrich behind him. Lauren looking for his first podium in the DTM as well. His best results so far, a couple of 7th place finishes, one at Oschersleben and one at the Norris Ring. Tim Heinemann versus David Schumacher, another good battle. And they have the wherewithal to get on the team radio while they're trying to master these conditions, trying to keep drivers behind them? I'll never know. Ricardo Feller has found a way past Luca Engstler, so up to 6th place now. And look at this side-by-side between Heinemann and Schumacher as they go over the start-finish line. Schumacher's on the inside. This is the battle for 9th place. And Schumacher is there on the right line, just about behind them as well. You've got to watch out for Pereira in the Lamborghini in 11th place, on board with Schumacher, still side by side. He's got the inside line for the next turn though, and he'll be ahead of the Porsche, I think, just about. But the Mercedes, the Porsche and the Lamborghini are going to have some more fun and games here in the last 8 minutes or so of the race. And Pereira on the curbs, trying to get up the inside of Heinemann at turn 3. That didn't quite work. Pretty brave though to go on the curbs. He's almost on the grass, isn't he? Cutting the corner, the Frenchman. He's loads of experience. He's got the inside line. Do you know what? It's going to work. He's going to have the inside line at the hairpin.
That's a brave move, putting a wheel on the curb or on the grass in this weather, but he's done it and he's made it stick, so he moves up a position. That's a great recovery from such a long way back.
Indeed so. Maximilian Paul only got the lead a few laps ago. He's already nearly 3 seconds clear of Lucas Auer. Lucas is only 0.8 of a second clear of Lauren Heinrich. And they come over the start-finish straight. I think with that gap having come down possibly a bit more on that lap. Let's have a look. They come through. Yeah, it's half the gap, more or less, to just under half a second as they go into turn 1. Just keeping an eye on the leader there. It looked like he'd taken a very wide line, Maximilian Paul. I think he's okay. I just got a bit worried he got a bit too deep into the corner, but he's okay. The race leader continues to hold an even bigger lead, actually 4.1 seconds over the start-finish line.
Heinrich was making a move on Lucas Auer coming out of turn 11 by the looks of things. He's got a lot more pace. You can see Lucas Auer snaking under braking as he goes into the corner. Lauren Heinrich is closing in on him, and I think he's going to be mounting a challenge anytime soon. He can see 2nd place ahead of him.
I like that one, Brian. Snaking under braking. You add that to the list. It's a beautiful car control, isn't it? Absolutely impressive to watch from these drivers. So there's your race leader, number 19, Maximilian Paul. There is Lucas Auer in 2nd. An Austrian team leads, an Austrian driver is 2nd. Lauren Heinrich in 3rd, looking for his first DTM podium. Maro Engel in 4th is about 6 seconds behind him. Thomas Preining in the middle of the grid in 5th place. Ricardo Feller in 6th. It'll be the first time Ricardo has started on pole in the DTM and not won a race. It's his 3rd pole. The other 2 have given him race victories last year at Imola and earlier this year at Zandvoort, but not to be today in these very mixed conditions. Luca Engstler in 7th place is going to be on course for his best result of the season so far as well. Again, from a lowly grid position. He's had a couple of 14ths. He's not yet had a top 10. He's there in 7th place. Thierry Vermeulen on course for his best result in 8th place. He got his best result yesterday so far this season in 10th. It's been a really impressive weekend, actually, from Thierry Vermeulen. Sort of staring into the screens there, starting to dance on his toes. He's got free grass. They're looking a little bit stressed out, but not too much, because he's man there in the lead of the race. Gets further and further clear as the race goes on.
I think Max Paul will be thanking Lucas Auer, because clearly he is slower than Lauren Heinrich, who's behind him. And as long as they're fighting, it's allowing Max Paul to hold on to that gap. But now Lauren Heinrich finds a gap on the inside of Lucas Auer. Auer has the quicker line round the corner, but it's Lauren Heinrich with better traction. Now the inside becomes the outside. Lucas Auer once again sweeps in front, so still, I thought it was going in. Lauren Heinrich now makes the challenge again, but Lucas Auer positioning that Mercedes exactly where he needs to go, giving him the squeeze into the corner. Lauren Heinrich going really deep, but still Lucas Auer holding on.
Oh, he's going to take the traction around the outside though. Left-hander coming up. The German's going to get through into 2nd place. Clever thinking that. He set up the move, didn't he? A couple of corners before. Lucas Auer did everything he could to fend off Lauren Heinrich, but in the end he just hasn't quite got the pace in the car. So Heinrich up to 2nd place. Lucas Auer doesn't look like he's going to get the fairy tale win now, but it will be 2 podiums this weekend, and he will be the biggest point scorer this weekend as well, out of everybody. So welcome back to the championship fight. Last year's championship front runner and runner-up Lucas Auer, but podium's not guaranteed yet either. Here comes Maro Engel next. His last lap time a 1:42.7, which was 1.3 seconds quicker than Lucas Auer and Lauren Heinrich, who were holding each other up in that battle.
Keep an eye on the gap between first and second as well. Lauren Heinrich has been released, 6.69 last time around. So he's taken a little bit out of Max Paul's lead, but there's only 3.5 minutes left.
Come on now, go for it. Be clever, be clever. No rush, 5 minutes to go.
Yeah, don't push too hard too soon. You've got the pace, keep doing what you're doing. Stay patient. Oh no, Arjun Maini off. He got himself back into the points as well, back into 13th place. Another victim of the hairpin at turn 5. And onto the mud. He looks like he has made contact with the barrier, so waved yellows at turn 5.
This could be either a curse or a blessing for Max Paul, because if we were to get a safety car, we could potentially finish behind a safety car. But if we got a safety car and we went back to green flag, then his lead would be under threat. But I don't think they would throw a safety car for that. Maybe a full course yellow. We've only got, well, less than 2 3/4 minutes plus 1 lap. Is Max Paul starting to dream? Is he starting to think, after all these years of trying, I might just win my GT3 race in the big league?
Yeah, well, it's nearly 7 seconds clear. It's looking good. It's looking very good. But what about the battle for third place? Maro Engel has almost reached the back of the Winward Racing Mercedes of Lucas Auer as they come into the Vidal chicane. From what you can see of it anyway, trust me, it is there in amongst the rain and the mist. And Auer finding the way around this track, I'll never know. It's great skill from these drivers. There must be zero visibility if you're right behind a car, as Maro Engel is at the moment. Look at Lucas, has so much surface water at the final turn there. Zero traction, just where you need it. Lucas Auer scrabbling to try and get the power down and heading towards the start of another lap through the, almost a fog, isn't it, of rain they come. And Maro Engel with a target to aim for, outbreaks the Austrian, almost goes into the back of him, goes deep into the corner. Down to this left-hander here, this is where Lucas Auer keeps going wide. He prefers the wide line through turns 2 and 3. It sort of invites trouble from the car behind, doesn't it? Particularly at this next corner.
And you saw the back end stepping out as he slid around the corner. Mercedes versus Mercedes, 2 massively experienced pilots. And they are fighting for the last of the podium positions. It's advances looking at the moment, but there are, well, it's less than a minute and a half. Safety car. A safety car is out. Well, surely this race is going to finish behind a safety car. I should think. I think the Max Paul will be, take your time, chaps. Don't be in a hurry to get that safety car in. Surely they're not going to be able to clear it and get back under green flag conditions in less than a minute plus 1 lap.
I think you're absolutely right. I think you're absolutely right. Godfrey Grasser didn't look too worried about it, did he? He was just sort of to the right of the garage. You may have just caught him on the edge of the picture. Engine Guwen there in the Team 75 garage. So good to see he's okay after that big crash yesterday, but another spectator today. So Max Paul with a big lead, which is about to evaporate, but it might not be a problem because only a couple of laps to go now. He was slowing down a bit more actually, Max, so you don't get to the line before the clock ticks down. Then you won't have to do another 2 laps, plus 1 lap at the end of the time. Checkered line, he's going to have to do 2 more. Crosses the line with 17 seconds to go.
Wow.
So, yeah, at least 2 more. But it should be okay still, I think, shouldn't he?
Yeah, they've left it quite late to bring out the safety car. I'm presuming it's for the stricken Arjun Maini car, but with the clock striking 0, there it is removed. We will get 1 more lap after this. Are we going to have a dash for the cash? It's what I speculated about a few moments ago. It would be Max Paul's worst nightmare, because Lauren Heinrich is also looking for his first podium in the DTM and indeed his first win, and he might throw caution to the wind.
So replay, Arjun just straight on there, and there's mud, there's grass. He had really, once he went straight on, no chance of avoiding the barrier. A real shame for Arjun. It's a tough season, the Indian driver, and it was going well. It was a good recovery after being off on the road earlier. Not most of the speed off, but came into contact with the barrier, couldn't get the car restarted. So, yeah, Maximilian Paul will be like, I wish you'd taken a bit more time trying to get that behind. But news comes up on the screen. The race will finish behind the safety car. The best words, the best sentence that Maximilian Paul has ever heard. He's not going to have to defend for 1 lap. He's going to be the race winner.
Wow, the Paul crew looking on as well. Of course, his father, who runs that team, will be delighted. GRT Grasser, the Gottfried Grasser can afford to smile at last. Mirko Bortolotti as well. It's going to be a win for GRT Grasser, their first of the season.
There should be one more lap. So we wait, drive one more lap behind the safety car, and then it's confirmed. We wait.
And whatever you do, Max, don't throw it off the road.
Yes.
Don't throw it off the road behind the safety car.
Yeah, the congratulations are happening, but the checkered flag isn't out yet. The car's around turn 10 at the moment. It would be cruel indeed, but here they come into turn 11.
What a story this is. Not in his wildest dreams would he have believed this, Maximilian Paul, that he would be a race winner in the DTM. I bet he's glad he took the offer up now, isn't he, as he comes through. He's got the easiest lap. I think he's got the easiest lap of his life now. It probably is still a bit stressful, but final lap of the race. The race is going to finish behind the safety car. All he's got to do is just bring it home. Lauren Heinrich is going to get his first ever DTM podium as well. Lucas Auer third. Maro Engel continues his point scoring run. He's very much a championship contender this year in fourth. Fifth place is going to go the way of Thomas Preining. Of course, we're starting back on the 8th row of the grid, 16th on the grid. I think he'll take that. That will feel like a real result. Ricardo Feller, of course, will be disappointed with 6th. You're always disappointed if you start on pole and don't win a race, but you know, it was lower down at one point, so it's not been bad. And again, he continues his run of finishing in the points in every race, which is highly valuable. Luca Engsler's going to get his best results in 7th. Thierry Vermeulen likewise. 2 top 10 finishes this weekend for him. And David Schumacher, his previous best result is a 13th. He's going to get his best result in 9th place. And I know he maybe would have dreamt of a podium. He was driving really well at the start, wasn't he? But it's still a good day for David Schumacher. From Pereira, a word for him as well. He had a nightmare yesterday, but he's come from the back of the field to score a top 10 finish. But Tyre Drudy, 11th, that's not bad. He was off on the grass, wasn't he, at one point? Tim Heinemann is going to be disappointed with 12th. It could have been much more than that for Tim. And then Lucas Stoltz, 13th. Yusuf Awega, 14th. Sandro Holtzum is going to be in the top 15 and in the points positions. Marco Wittmann is not by 0.8 of a second, because he's right behind him on the safety car now. Sheldon van der Linde, no points. Jack Aitken, no points. He's had no luck this weekend at all, has he? Rennie Rast, no points. Kelvin van der Linde, no points. And a lap down. This must be a nice feeling, mustn't it? You know that Christmas is coming and everything is sorted. The turkey is prepared. You put your feet up, crack open the sherry. The job is done. It's just waiting for the moment to come now.
You're just hoping that Christmas doesn't get a puncture or run out of fuel or something. But here we go into the final turn.
Yeah, I think Gottfried Grasser would get out and push the car now if he had to. Maximilian Paul is going to be a winner in the DTM. What a dream! In his 4th ever start, Maximilian Paul wins the race.
I cannot believe it.
Oh, here we go again. More celebrations.
Everyone, thank you so much.
Wow.
Thank you, Gottfried.
Thank you, Gottfried. I tell you what, you deserved it. Absolutely deserved it. Brilliant drive. Really brilliant drive.
We chatted to him.
It's amazing.
Oh,
no words. Insane drive.
We chatted to Max on Friday, and
Please don't forget to go to the skills.
He was just saying, yeah, I'm here, pick up experience, you know, do what I can. And he's such a lovely guy. I don't think he...
Don't think he ever dreamed. World's longest radio transmission. I'm not sure, but I think Maximilian Paul is quite happy.
Yeah.
I think he's quite happy with that win.
Your racing commentator, Max Paul, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah. He's used all the superlatives in the dictionary, hasn't he? Wow, what a performance. And he could have never dreamed that. I think he was probably fairly happy to be in the points yesterday.
Yes,
but,
he was.
You know, to win a race. Well, he said, you know, we spoke to him, didn't we, earlier in the weekend, as you said, and he said, you know, I'm not in for the season. Hopefully I might get out more than once this year. And he sort of, with a glint in his eye, said, maybe at the Lausitz Ring, which is his home race.
You think?
Sign him up now. Yeah, fantastic. Car 1 speeding under a full course yellow is going to be referred to the stewards, like Sheldon van der Linde, just to put pay to another disappointing Sunday for him. But the only good thing is, most of the others around him have not had a great day either. Mirko Bortolotti, Dennis Olsen, René Rast, Marco Wittmann, just some of the drivers in the top 10 with a bad Sunday here. But Thomas Preining with that 5th place finish, by my maths, going to have a 28-point lead over Sheldon van der Linde now.
That's pretty healthy, isn't it? I tell you what, I'm looking forward to seeing this. Come on, let's see him get out of the car, because I think this will be some good celebrations.
And great news, 35,376 euros raised for race laps for Wells in Africa by BWT and the water mission for all of the laps combined, 8,844 laps. Blimey, my maths was right. 28 points is the difference between the top 2 in the championship. Mirko Bortolotti drops to 3rd on 29. Ricardo Fella, he's on the same points as him as well. So fantastic scenes down there. The celebrations will, I think, go long on into the night. That was mega, wasn't it? Maximilian Paul, Lauren Heinrich and Lucas Auer, your top 3.
I just feel so happy for him. He has been so close to GT Masters, and he can never get beyond the 3rd step. He's done a jump of 2 steps, and in the mighty DTM as well.
So there you go, confirmation of the results for the Grasser Racing team. Maximilian Paul is a race winner. No more history made. 8 races, 8 different winners this season. Lauren Heinrich and Lucas Auer will join him on the podium. Maro Engel in 4th. Thomas Preining, good recovery in 5th place. Ricardo Fella, 6th. Luca Engstler, Thierry Vermeulen, David Schumacher and Frank Pereira in the top 10. Matteo Drudi in 11th. Tim Heinemann 12th. Lucas Stoltz 13th. Jesse Vega and Sandro Holtzum in the points positions as well. Marco Wittmann, Sheldon van der Linde, Jack Aitken, René Rast and Kelvin van der Linde finished the race, but all finish outside the points. Arjun Maini likewise dropped out of the points and brought about that safety car at the end of the race, just to give everybody at GRT a heart attack. And non-finishes for Schmidt, Niederhauser, Deleda, Olsen, and a non-start, of course, for Mirko Bortolotti. The point for the fastest lap of the race, at least he got something out of it, was Marco Wittmann. He got 1 point for the fastest lap of the race. Wow, incredible stuff then. There is Max Paul. Looks like he's just been out for a Sunday drive, does he? Like, sign the paperwork, get the weigh-in done, do all your jobs properly. And you can tell from the reaction on the radio just how chuffed he was with that. So a longer look at the points now. Thomas Preining, 28 clear. Great weekend it turned out to be. No wins this weekend, but extends his championship lead. Sheldon van der Linde stays 2nd. Mirko Bortolotti and Ricardo Fella are now tied on 88 points apiece. Maro Engel, 78, closes the gap to them. Lucas Auer up to 6th place. He would have been 5th, but 6th place it is because he wasn't the race winner in the end. So halfway into the season, 8 races done, 8 races still to go. It's anybody's guess, but Thomas Preining is in a great position. Let's get some reaction down in the pit lane with Verena Reed.
And I'm here with Lauren Heinrich. Congratulations. What a race, coming from P11 to P2. So you've got to be really, really excited about that.
I'm really excited. My first ever DTM podium in these conditions on the legendary Nürburgring. For me, it's an amazing result, especially after yesterday, where exactly this case ruined my race. Now I profited actually with the full course yellow, so I'm really happy, really thankful to the team. And even with 1 car now, we managed to have a good result.
You were catching up so hard. I mean, it was really amazing. Did you get a little nervous in the end with the safety car?
Yeah, I mean, I thought maybe we get a 1-lap restart. It would be exciting. I mean, also for me, it's a good chance to get the win maybe. But yeah, I mean, in the end, it was good like this. We could secure a podium. I'm really happy. Massive points for the championship, and thank you to the team.
Superb job. Thank you very much. Back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Yeah, it's still interesting, isn't it? Lauren Heinrich, he's not right up there in the championship point, but he's still thinking championship points because it's such a topsy-turvy year. You string 2 or 3 good results together, you shoot up that championship table, don't you?
Well, we know how good Lauren Heinrich is. He is the outgoing Porsche Carrera Cup Germany champion. We saw him very dominant last year. When we moved into DTM, we knew he was going to be good and he was going to trouble the front runners somewhere along the way. I bet you it's not his last podium this year.
No, not at all. Lucas Sauer, just look at the surface water on these great super slow-mos. Really good weekend. Didn't quite get the fairy tale race victory, but he's proven that he can be battling up the front of the field once again. Dry, greasy or wet conditions. He came home in third. We just heard from Lauren Heinrich, and after yesterday's huge disappointment for Timo Bernhard's squad, some joy for the team as well after losing the car of Anjan Nguyen yesterday, and Lauren Heinrich's race ruined by the yellows as well after he'd made his pit stop. He gets second place, but Maximilian Paul in the Lamborghini Huracan for the GRT Grasser Racing team is a DTM race winner, and thoroughly deserved it was. Absolutely terrific drive from him. So it's going to be, I think, a noisy podium. We had a noisy podium yesterday, didn't we? This one could have the potential to be even noisier. They'll all be called up then. First up, Lucas Auer, double podium. Had to wait till the fourth weekend of the season, last year's championship runner-up, but he's got 2 podiums in 2 days now. Well done to Luki, and you've just heard from Lauren Heinrich. Massive well done to him as well. Good effort to come from the 6th row of the grid to get his first ever podium in the DTM. But here comes your race winner. Here he is, cheered up. Maximilian Paul makes his way to the high fives of his 2 fellow podium finishers onto the very top step of the podium.
You can't believe it, can he?
Yeah, it looks a bit shell-shocked, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Gottfried Grasser will pick up the team trophy as well. Great effort by the team. Big hugs. Get that contract signed for next year. Wow, what a day, what a race, what a weekend it has been here at the Nürburgring. What a proud moment for Maximilian Paul. Not a dry eye in the house. It must be the rain. Unbelievable. Fantastic fairy tale weekend. You turn up as a guest and you steal the show. So trophy time, these fantastic trophies that we have. Claudius Leitfritz from the ADAC presenting the winner's trophy to Maximilian Paul. Absolutely brilliant. Jürgen Hieke presents the second place trophy to Lauren Heinrich. He's well pleased with that as well. And Lucas Auer picks up his second silverware of the weekend, hoists it aloft. Very well done to him, the biggest point scorer overall this weekend with his 2 podium finishes. And the winning team, GRT Grasser Racing, big smiles there. Just good to get through a race like that, isn't it? Is our man again? Absolutely joy. He's had a good weekend, him, hasn't he?
I'm pretty sure it's his father. Tobias, I want to say. I should have done my revision, but yes, you can see how much it means.
Yeah, emotional. A lot of effort goes into this, doesn't it? A lot of effort, a lot of pain, sweat and tears. You've got to enjoy these moments. You've got to enjoy the champagne. Everybody gets a little bit wetter, but they won't care one jot, all those drivers on the podium. Well done to them. The Nürburgring, as always, has served us up lots of drama, Brian. Lots and lots of drama.
Stunning. What a fairy tale race. We'll remember this one for a long time. The weather came, it really sorted out the men from the boys. That man there, that absolute fairy tale. Who'd have thought it 48 hours ago that he would be standing on the top step of a podium after a DTM race?
Yeah, and look how he had to do it as well in the most difficult of conditions. Race winner, Maximilian Paul. Let's get some reaction down with Verena.
And he just ran off, but I've got Maximilian right here. So congratulations, what a phenomenal race. I mean, you're here as a guest. That's a way how to steal a show, that's for sure. And coming from P13 all the way to victory, I mean, you really drove for your life.
Yeah, it was very, very, very amazing. It was very, very nice to drive. Such a great car, our Lamborghini, and from Grasser Racing. Thanks to Gottfried for the chance, and thanks to all my sponsors. Thanks to my dad, and yeah, it was just amazing. I had a really good start, just got a nice spot, and from there on I was just in my zone. The car was very good, and I kept going. So yeah, very happy that we caught P1 after the pit stop, and yeah, now time to celebrate.
Absolutely. I mean, you know how tough the DTM is. It really is. And then you're here as a guest. It's your second race in the DTM, and you managed to secure victory in these conditions. I mean, you must be really proud about that even. I mean, this is like the trickiest condition ever.
Of course, winning in the DTM is something really, really special, and I think a lot of people would wish to do that. So I wouldn't have believed it at the beginning of this weekend, but now I'm super, super happy. I really like those conditions, and yeah, just very glad to be here.
Absolutely, and we're glad to have you here as well, because you really shook the whole DTM up. I mean, that's for sure. So thank you so much. Congratulations. Do enjoy the moment, that's for sure. And before I grab Luki, here's your commentator.
Thanks, Verena. Great to hear from your race winner, Maximilian Paul there. And remember as well, Brian, he's used to Lamborghinis, but he hasn't driven that particular Lamborghini this weekend. You have to get used to each car's nuances, how the team set the car up. And also, he's never driven that car in the wet until that race. Brilliant.
No, and he had a rehearsal in a Lamborghini 3 weeks ago, but it was a different evolution of Lamborghini, this being the Evo 2 Lamborghini he's driving. He had all the right gear, he put it to good use.
Absolutely, and remember the start of the race? Remember when it was dry-ish?
A long time ago.
That didn't last long, did it? A story of lots of dramas. Didn't go long into the race, did Dennis Olsen, after getting tagged and that Tim Heinemann coming together, and poor old Galvin van der Linde on the brunt of it again on the outside there. First corner disaster for him this weekend. Off the road were many drivers, including Jack Aitken, in these wet conditions, and he had to wait a long time before he could get the car into gear and back on the track. Despite the wobbly front bumper, Thomas Preining managed to get through to 5th place. Off the road went Alessio De Lady when he got the wheels on the painted white line on the exit to the pit lane. So he brought about full course yellows. He'd been going pretty well as well. Looked like he might be on course for some championship points, the Italian. And then the big battle that we had for the lead of the race in the closing stages between Lukas Sauer and Maximilian Paul. Down the inside into turn 5 he went. And then Lukas Sauer had to work hard to fend off Lauren Heinrich, which he did for a number of laps, but ultimately couldn't quite hold on to it. So 3rd place in the end for Lukas Sauer, but really good championship points coming the way of the Austrian. The checkered flag came out after the safety car came back in. Had a first ever race victory for Maximilian Paul, your 8th different winner. From Brian and me, thanks for your company. Let's head back to Verena.
And I'm here with Luki Auer. Lucas, you really drove so hard, you pushed so hard, you were leading the race for quite a while, coming from P5, but now ending up on P3. Does it still feel like a really good race, nevertheless?
Yeah, especially the whole weekend was really positive for us. The first stint was amazing. Then I thought, oh, we really have a chance now. But then in the second stint, couldn't switch on the tires. We have to analyze that. Also, congrats to the other 2 guys. They did an amazing job. Also to Gottfried. And yeah.
It was a tough race, but you managed to get your podium. It's the 2nd podium, so it feels good after all.
Absolutely.
All right, Luki, thank you so much. And yeah, what a crazy race weekend we had here at the Nürburgring. And even with the weather now, I mean, what typical weather for the Nürburgring. And it was so exciting, so much action we saw there. And now, of course, we're looking forward to the next race weekend, which is in 2 weeks at the Lausitzring. So looking forward to that. See you then. And now enjoy the highlights. Bye-bye.